Hey, so welcome to Triggered. I'm pretty pumped. This is the podcast where we literally just find out what is on the other side of the trigger. I'm your host, Ricky Gomez, founder of Neurofit, and we help people win this. And normally, how we do that is to explore in the trigger. And normally, what you find on the other side of the trigger is a bit of growth, a bit of healing, and a whole bunch of freedom. But you don't know it's there until you do what's normally hard to do, and that is to confront it. And in this podcast, we're not giving you the ABC strategy to success and freedom. We are simply just giving you a bit of exposure on what the journey really looks like to walk when you have to overcome hardship, battles, adversity to get to where you want to. And I'm pretty pumped because I got a pretty awesome guest today. He is originally from Zimbabwe. Let's go. So originally from Zimbabwe. My wife is from Zimbabwe. He was an athlete. Probably you still are. You treat your body like you are.
Trying. I'm not sure if it's working, but trying.
There it is. You did some modeling, but you told me one time not as good as your brother.
Look up Dougie Dillon on my Instagram if anybody wants to see an actual model. That's my half brother, and oof.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Human. He's a good looking. I mean, you are too, bro. And then
siblings.
Yeah, there you go. That makes sense. And then you are now probably running one of the fastest growing insurance brokerages in New Zealand.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say we're probably looking at that.
Come on, bro. Welcome, Marcus. Let's go, Marcus Wolton. Here he is, and I'm pumped to have you, bro. It's gonna be good.
Excited to be here.
It's gonna be good, man. We met a while back, probably 2021?
2021,
yeah. Post lockdowns were still happening.
BNI, man.
Yeah, joined a good BNI group. Marcus jumped into our program just before jumping into full-time running a business.
Yeah, first time running a business.
Yeah, which is pretty epic. But bro, to kick us off, why don't you just give us a real good, you lived in Zim. When did you move over here? What do you how long were you tracking into the athlete space? What stopped that?
Cool.
Give us a bit of overview.
Give you snapshots. So was born in Zim. Both my parents were also born there in a city called Harare, which is the capital.
Yes.
And when I was 6, Mum and I left to go to England. So Mum's boyfriend at the time left Zim and went to England. So we followed him there. And then that obviously didn't work out because we ended up in New Zealand. So we spent about a year in England. That was apparently too cold and rainy. So Mum picked New Zealand because she had a sister in Ashburton, which was, if you ask me, just as cold and rainy. So I moved to New Zealand when I was 7 and then have been here since then. So 23 years now.
23 years.
So pretty much a Kiwi through and through.
Yeah, okay.
And grew up in Ashburton.
Go back a lot though.
Yeah, I try to anyway.
Yeah.
So try to. Grew up in Ashburton, which I don't like to admit to people too often. But anyway, so was in Ashburton until I was 15. Good old Ash Vegas. And then went to boarding school for my last 3 years.
Yeah.
So year 11, 12 and 13. And that's probably where the sports side of things kicked into stuff because at boarding school, you just got so much time to do things right because you got no commute back and forth. And so all the boarders just do sport.
Yeah.
And every night there's a set prep time, which was like 6 to 8 p.m., which was after dinner, where you have like a tutor in a room, you're split by gender and age group, and you do your homework. So from 3 when school finishes until dinner at 5, there's 2 hours to fill. So everybody does sport. And so did your classic. Played hockey, played a bit of rugby until I realised I was too scrawny for that because in year 13 I was like 70 kgs, dude, at 6'5". I was a beanpole. And then started athletics as well in my last year.
Yeah,
one of my mates was a really good high jumper. Shout out Ben Murray, he's a legend of a human. And he saw me at volleyball, was like, dude, come try high jump. So gave that a go in year 13 and did all right. Maybe got like a 3rd at South Islands, maybe 7th or 8th at Nationals, which was my first Nationals. So that was cool. And then did the classic where I went to uni and all of a sudden there's like nobody holding your hand, nobody telling you what to do. And so I just did a year where I just didn't sign up for any sport. And then did so shit at uni my first year. And it was probably because I just
as most people do, bro.
Yeah, just completely changed my lifestyle. And so then after my first year at uni, I was like, nah, I've got to get back into sport. Didn't want to do hockey. So I was like, I think I'll do athletics. Got really lucky and got introduced to Terry Lomax, who's a phenomenal coach. And ended up joining his squad. And then, rest was history. Did high jump for 5-6 years. Was lucky enough to represent New Zealand. So
epic.
A bit of that. Yeah. But that was sort of the journey. Just school sort of developed into uni, which developed into sport.
Yeah. What did you study at uni?
So classic white guy, did a BCom, double major, economics and marketing. Right. So like low-key finance bro stuff. And funnily enough, as I mentioned, first year uni was no good, dude. I borderline failed out. They gave me the whole, if you don't improve your grades in your second year, you're out of here kind of thing. and which was a huge, probably eye-opening moment because through school it's easy, right? You got everything handed to you, pick up your credits, and you're done deal. So, but yeah, classic white guy did econ and
different,
marketing,
bro. And you did sport. So you did high jump, went hard at your high jump, and now you're tracking in the high performance sports.
So no longer involved in the high performance sports space anymore. So I did high jump until I want to say 2022, 2023, somewhere around there.
It's still recent, bro.
Yeah, recent-ish. And then just got too busy with work, and so transitioned out of high jump and did some sprint work. So fortunately, Wolton, who's New Zealand's fastest man over the 100, he's got the resident record, and he's trying to chase the New Zealand record on the 100. He's one of my best mates. So he talked to his coach, and I joined their squad for a bit and did some sprint work just as stay fit while I'm at work, not take it too serious. But the desk job gets you, man.
Yeah,
you're sitting down. And
I mean, I used to be an athlete, so I know what a desk job can do, Marcus.
Yeah, that NBA career.
Yeah. That was a dream. Anyway, I not hear about me, But so, what's the transition from high jump to sprinting? Is it easy?
Yeah, I mean, it was easy to do in that the training's similar. It's also explosive stuff, plyometrics, that kind of thing. That was easy, but the going from being quite good in New Zealand, like at my peak ranked second, couple of silver medals at nationals, to being like absolute rats, and I was no good, So that was quite a humbling experience.
Humbling, yeah, right.
Super humbling. But that being said, I actually found the training doing the sprinting way more enjoyable than the high jumping, because the high jumping it's you in the bar. Right, it's a mental game. Doesn't really matter what anybody else does in the day because it's up to you in the bar and how you perform. Whereas the sprinting, when you're training, a lot of like the reps you're doing, you're just running against your teammates, and it's super competitive. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of joking. You can stagger where you start in the race, so you like have an even finish with your teammates. So it's way more banterous. So that side of things I really enjoyed, but humbling experience.
In sprints, do people trash talk?
Between like teammates, yeah, absolutely. Between other athletes, like not from what I've seen. On the world stage, there's probably a bit of it that you see. But as a whole, no. But whereas if I was in a race where like my teammates, like if Tian was in that race, I'd just be chatting shit to him. I'd be like, bro, you're having a bad day. You're not looking good. Like you look like you haven't slept. I've got you today. He'd absolutely smoke me because it's on a different level. But there was a bit of that. But as a whole, not too much.
So more light banter, but not as like I'm going to get into your head.
Yeah, I'll ask Tian. I'll let you know because he's been to Worlds and stuff. For all I know, he's under his best shit talking people, being like, "Bro, you look like you haven't slept. It's like you're not going to do well." I don't know. I'll check.
I don't know. I mean, in my head, it's in every sport, but sprinting's, it's 10 seconds of your life. Yeah. There's no pulling back after you finish the finish line. It's like, all right, let's re-go. Like,
once it's done, it's done.
Not like another possession or something.
I'd imagine probably not a lot of shit talking at that level though, because most people are laser focused. At that point, you've spent hours and hours and hours to get there. You probably you're in your lane, right? You just focus on that tunnel vision type stuff. But
okay. So while training, while doing sport, you're in insurance at the time?
Yeah. So sort of as I transitioned out of high jump, I got into the workforce. So was in uni until 2018ish. I graduated and then was sort of peaking in athletics then. So I think maybe had a bronze or two at nationals at that point, and was like, cool, I should probably get a job, right? Finished with uni, got to find something to do. And I got a LinkedIn message, as you do as like a Yo Pro, right? You make a LinkedIn. So I got a LinkedIn message in, must have been 2019, from what is now Gallagher, but was formerly Crombie Lockwood.
Yep.
And their branch manager was like, yo, I've seen you looking for a job. You've got an economics major and a marketing major. We want people who are in the commerce space, as you can usually have good conversations with business owners. I think you should apply for this role. And I said, hey, not interested in the role, but thank you for the offer. And she rang me. She was like, hey, I'd love to hear why you're not interested in the role. And I said, hey, I kind of want to be an economist. I want to go work for a bank, that kind of thing. Use my economics major. And Michelle Hamilton's her name, phenomenal woman, great salesperson. And she said to me, she was like, well, each bank only has, one economist, right? Like a senior economist, maybe some juniors, not a lot of market out there. And you're sort of stuck in what you do day in, day out. Whereas if you're an insurance broker, you're going to deal with like a plethora of different businesses,
Oh,
the same day, dude, it worked. Hook, line, and sinker.
Got you.
She was like, you might one day deal with, a sole trader who's got his own photography business, but in that same day, you might deal with a restaurant, you might deal with an engineer who's a consultant, you'll deal with someone who does everything and anything, and it's really interesting because you get to deal with the decision makers, the business owners, the people who made that business happen. And so I was like, I'll go for an interview kind of. Ended up taking the job, right? So
Michelle.
Yeah,
Hey,
Michelle
great job,
Hamilton.
Michelle. If you're still there, you're probably keeping
I'm pretty
Gallagher
sure
going,
she
eh?
is. I'm pretty sure she
Hey.
is. So that's how I ended up in the insurance industry, and then from there made a shift to Aon, one of the other large
Yep.
brokerages in New Zealand, and did a year there. And then while I was there, had an opportunity with another guy who was there to look at starting our own brokerage, which was
Perfect.
something we'd discussed when we both started there. And so that opportunity came up, and then we came up
You
with
made it.
Gerard's and did that. And then that's obviously when I got in touch with you about Neurofit.
Yeah, bro. So jumping into the neurofit mental side of things, because you gave I mean, that's a real good, like, you know, went from high school to uni, found a sport, smashed the sport, opportunity came, jumped in there. Um, in that, there's a lot of stories that make up that journey. And you come to, hey, Rico, let's catch up. I want to do a neurofit program, all right? Which back then it was all about clearing the mental mess, right? It's a bit different to what we do now, but mental mess is what it's about. What made you want to jump in?
Yeah, great question. So I'd never owned a business. And a lot of starting Gerard's was mostly a push from Ethan. He was like, nah, this is the way to do it. We should do this. And so at the time, like, that's a scary thought, right?
Yeah,
Going to start a business, everything's on us.
100%.
Everything's on me if something goes wrong. And so hearing about Neurofit, clear the mental mess, I was like, damn, what if I've got this huge mental mess I don't know about? And then when push comes to shove, fight or flight kicks in and I just respond terribly. So sort of thought about it and I was like, this sounds like a great tool
Yeah,
to double check, make sure everything's in order. I've got the toolbox sorted. And then so when we do start the business, if stuff does get hard, which it probably will,
yep.
I'm not going to freak out about it and have a breakdown. So
Yeah, bro. And did you find any mess?
there wasn't a heap. I'm pretty blessed to say that most of my life has been, my friends and my friend group joke, I've got life on easy mode. Like most things work out for me, have worked
Yeah,
out for me, which might just be a mindset thing. So I'm a go with
yeah.
the flow guy. But there's definitely a lot of stuff to be tidied up. So some stuff
Mm,
just like from childhood, for
yep.
example, like didn't love my childhood, but had never reflected on it. Had never actually
Yeah,
sat down
gotcha.
and thought about it. So a lot of the reflection tools in there were really good. A lot of the stuff about, comparison being the thief of joy and what it means to
Mm,
compare to other people, that stuff was hugely valuable to clear that stuff out, because at the end of the day, probably from not having a childhood that I loved heaps, was just super obsessed with being accepted by everybody. And so
yeah,
clearing out
gotcha.
that mental mess, actually identifying that something I did was like trying to please everybody,
Yep.
that was huge.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to jump onto some of the things you just said there, bro.
I'm giving
It's
you
like,
ammo.
yeah, I'm like, oh, okay. So you talk about comparison,
Mm,
right? And obviously, right, like as a business owner, like in my head, there's two ways. Usually, it's coming from an athlete point of view. You're like, well, might be different in high jump. And most in the athlete space, it is like I view competitors, and I'm here to compete. And then you hop into a business, and often it's like, well, I'm here to compete, and so comparison becomes a measurement tool.
yeah.
Very easy, but can 100% steal your joy like no tomorrow.
Oh, dude, crazy.
Has that
Crazy.
happened?
Yeah, when we first started, even though I'd gone through Neurofit and was aware of all that stuff, I
Yeah,
was mindful about it and had the toolbox and the toolkit, there were still some businesses in the industry that I looked at and I was like, oh, we got to beat them. We got to get bigger than them. 3 years, we got to be bigger than
mm,
them. And then as time's progressed, it's become, they're doing a great job and that's cool. Good for
yeah,
them kind of thing. Like how good they do doesn't translate or reflect on how good we do.
100%.
And so just by focusing on ourselves, focusing on our knitting, we've had really good growth. And so
Yeah, cool.
fortunately, I was able to move away from constantly comparing to them to actually, cool, focusing on us and what we're doing.
Mm, yeah,
And so
yeah,
for me, I was always like, oh, they're the competition. We've got to get bigger than them.
yeah, gotcha.
But they're on their own journey. What they do
100%.
doesn't matter and what we do doesn't matter.
Yeah,
But it did take some time to actually, when I was in that world of like
comparison.
competitiveness
Yeah,
and we just started and I was worried about everything,
yeah,
to just compare the whole time.
yeah,
Whereas now,
yeah.
like, they're doing great, we're doing great. Doesn't matter. We're both on our own
Mm,
journey. And
gotcha.
so for a long time in those early days, it was like, damn, this isn't working out. We're not doing what we want to be doing. We're not hitting the
Mm,
goals we want to be hitting. But that being said, we were part of a group called PSC Connect that was led by a guy called David Penfold.
yeah,
Cannot speak highly enough about Dave. Absolute
epic.
legend. He backed Gerard's. He gave us a chance. So we partnered with what's called an aggregator, and they let us operate under our license, which is how two young guys are able to start a brokerage and make deals with these billion-dollar insurance companies.
Mm,
And so some other aggregators we met with were like, nah, you're too young, too green. Go get some years under your belt. But Dave Penfold was convinced. He was like, no, we'll give you boys a shot.
epic.
Super supportive. So a lot
Shot
of getting
Dave.
over absolute legend. So a lot of getting over the comparison thing was just, having people like that in my corner supporting me and
Yeah,
actually,
cool.
reflecting on that and going, damn, Dave believes in us. He does a lot. Doesn't matter what's happening
Mm,
elsewhere. So that was a big part of it. So
bro. Shot Dave,
yeah,
man, out here helping young guys out. And it's awesome to see because it's like, it is an old industry,
dude,
like,
super antiquated.
yeah.
It's definitely aging as well.
So, man, there's so many ways I want to go in this. I want to go back to, you said a few things. I want to go back to that. So you said, I didn't like my childhood,
yeah. So
which you said you never really reflected on, which is very normal for when you don't like something. And so I'm
yeah.
going the other way then, right? When you did reflect on it, what didn't you like about it?
So one of the things with the NeuroFit thing we did was, I think the first week you just got me to keep a journal every week about how I felt in the morning, at lunchtime, and at dinner,
Yes.
and to reflect on the previous day or the previous events that day that might have resulted in me feeling that way.
Yes.
I don't know if anybody else, but I'd never done any reflection. I just each day woke up, did the day, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so when we started to do that reflection stuff, started to go back further and further. And so thought about my childhood, and pretty much until I went to boarding school, I just pretty mundane dude, day in, day out, didn't love life. It was just my mum and I in Ashburton. So single mother, she's trying to work a job.
Yeah,
we've
true.
moved
In
to a new
Ashburton,
country.
bro.
Don't even start me in Ashburton. So
fair, I get that. Sorry, live there.
yeah, crack up. So yeah, I just didn't love Ashburton as a whole either. Pretty small
gotcha.
town kind of thing. And when I reflected on it, I was like, damn, until probably the age of 15 when I left Ashburton, I just wasn't happy. But at the time, as a kid, I was just like, well, this is how I feel, and probably everybody feels this way. Never thought about it, never conceptualized it like, hey, maybe you shouldn't be feeling this way. Maybe you should talk to someone about how you feel. And so a lot of that, I think, just stemmed to, mum's working as hard as she can to obviously keep a roof over her head. We've just moved to the country. She's got no university qualification, so it's not like she's just moved into a mint high-paying job. So, she's busting her ass. I catch a school bus that's 45 minutes each way every day. So I'm only getting home at like 4:30, 5 p.m. kind of thing. It's just, Anyway, looked back on that and was like, nah, this wasn't a good time in my life. But then also reflected on, from the age of 15 going to boarding school, how things changed. So really enjoyed the routine there, the stability. Really enjoyed.
So you thrive with a bit of like structure, discipline.
Love a bit of structure. I'm that guy. So which owning a business, great, because it's actually quite structured, right? So Monday to Friday, you're pretty much in the office, head down, doing your thing. And even on weekends, there's that element of working as well. So big fan of routine, and that made a huge difference. So whereas, when you got a mum who's, working her ass off to provide, she can't just finish at 3 to pick you up from school. And then you're going around all these different friends' houses or after school programs, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there was just no stability in my routine.
Yeah.
And so looking back on
you're a young person, bro. So it's like, can I ask where you can definitely say don't ask, but where
dude, far away.
Where's dad?
So dad's in America. So my parents were kind of not really together. My parents met, by the sounds. My dad had a paragliding accident, which is a little bit ironic because my brother Doug's also just had one, done the exact same thing. He's fine.
Wow.
Though.
Okay.
And he broke 3 vertebrae in his back, but he can still walk.
He's fine. He's all right.
He can walk. He's fine. Anyway, so parents met because dad had an accident and mum worked at the hospital that dad was admitted to. And anyway, obviously they liked each other because I'm here now. And so never really together in that sense. But dad at the time was, by the sounds, working overseas kind of thing.
Yeah. And
so pretty much I was born, he was around for that, but then, back to work and whatever is his life. And so he's sort of been, in my younger years, just hopping in and out.
Yeah.
And did his best again. He's on the other side of the world. He's trying to fit in, a son that's been taken to the other end of the world. So he's trying to do his job. But even that was quite, I don't want to say damaging, but quite tough.
100% it is.
So like mum would take me to say rugby on a Saturday sports. And it's just mum and I there, but every other kid I see's got both their parents. And at the time, I didn't realize that all that stuff really bothered me.
Yeah.
Now that I'm older and with technology, I can just pick up the phone and call dad, jump on FaceTime. As my bankroll's gotten bigger, I can actually afford to go see him every year, that kind of thing. Relationships are way different and it's really healthy. But when I was young, even him doing the best he could do and mum doing the best she could do, it just wasn't the right fit for me and I was unhappy. Like, it's just
as a kid, you don't understand. There's no logic there. It's just your experience, right? And so that experience, makes sense now. You're like, cool. I'm. It's almost as like a natural feeling of what's wrong with me. Like do they care? All that kind of stuff that plays a part. How do you reckon that impacted you into your adult years?
Yeah, I definitely think for like through university and those late teens, early 20s, it definitely affected me.
Yeah.
But the older I've got, the more vulnerable I found my friends to be, and they've shared similar experiences. and then you don't feel like you're alone in that.
Yeah,
But
true. Did you feel alone?
when I was younger, I did. But again, it was those things I never thought about. But looking
No.
back and I'm like, damn, I felt really lonely as a child. But again,
Which is a sucky pain to feel.
I didn't really know what loneliness was or sort of think about it that much, which is also probably why I love boarding school. Because all of a sudden, from feeling a bit lonely to, dude, you're like 300 other people around you 24/7. And I loved it.
Yeah.
Thrived in
why
a
you
boarding
thrived,
house.
yeah. And then you go to uni.
Same thing, right? You're in halls, surrounded by people.
Yeah.
And then, in lectures, there's, 100 people in every lecture. You join clubs, you meet people. So turned out, that was for me, being around people. But was probably from, I was a little bit lonely as a kid. And now I've like filled what felt like a hole.
Oh, man. And then you jump into the Neurofit program. And then you go into business.
Went into business. And fortunately, with a lot of the skills I learned at, say, like boarding school or university and through the Neurofit program, business has gone pretty well.
Yes, it has.
We're up to 10 staff.
Pretty well, bro.
Yeah.
Who are you comparing to, man?
No one, dude. I'm just, I'm
you're
happy
doing
with
really
how we're
well.
doing. So yeah, we're up to 10 staff. Yesterday was our 3-year anniversary for starting grants. So just hit the big 3. So yeah, we're excited about the new office moving into that early next year, hopefully. So lots of exciting changes going on.
100%.
But previously change was a little bit scary because, as we touched on, I liked that routine. But now I'm pretty used to change and pretty happy to be involved with it.
Yeah, well, I think in a small business, you can't really
it's inevitable.
Yeah,
it's inevitable.
Change is a part of it. Just when the market's shifting, and you're like, well, because we're small, we're able to move as fast as possible.
Huge advantage, with our size. We can try stuff, fail fast. Yeah, doesn't work. 100%. Cool. Let's switch to the next thing.
Yeah. So. Okay. Oh, bro. Okay. So, crazy story. I think a lot of people. I don't know if you are my broker, but there's a lot more respect I would have for you now, knowing more of your story. Why? Obviously, you got that call, right? Jump into insurance. Why remain in insurance?
Yeah, good question. So,
because you're a real people person, Marcus, and yes, insurance people, but there's a lot of other spaces you can hop into.
Yeah, valid. So a bit of context to insurance. Most people you meet sort of fall into it. A similar experience to me. It's not something they go after.
Yes.
But a lot of the people who fall into
Marcus didn't choose insurance.
Nah, man, he was not insurance wasn't on the radar, dude. Even when I was at uni, I did in my economics major, one of my papers was like a risk and insurance one. Wasn't on the radar.
Yeah.
But a lot of people fall in, but they find they stay. It's quite a sticky industry. And it is a really rewarding industry in a sense. Because, how many industries... Say, I'm a broker. Say if you crash your car, and you call me and you're like, "Oh no, I've crashed my car. Am I covered?" I get to be the person who's like, "Bro, this is what you do. These are the steps. Don't stress about it. This is how we sort it."
Yeah.
In a week, 2 weeks time, I'm calling you to be like, "Dude, send me a bank account. You got some money coming your way."
Yeah.
And that feeling is, dude, so rewarding, and seeing the difference it can make in people's lives. But probably the biggest thing for me is I just like talking to people.
Yeah.
And you'll quite often find that clients are really conversational.
Yes.
Like insurance can be a massive transactional process for them.
Yeah.
But most clients do make an effort to get to know their broker. And then it's, every day is just, you're kind of talking to people you like dealing with.
Yeah.
And I really like that.
Yeah, bro. Well, I'm like, one of the biggest reasons you are still my broker. Just saying, but you are still my broker. One of the biggest reasons is I tell you all the time, but I tell a lot of people, is that when I had back surgery, and I was out for 2 weeks, couldn't do anything. My wife's, 3rd trimester with a toddler at home, and it was crazy. And I'm bedridden. And you text me and you're like, "Hey man, bro, how did it go? Is there anything that you need?" Now, a lot of people send that text. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people are like, "Hey man, just checking in. You're all good." And you're like, "Yeah, bro, do you need anything?" And they're like, one, on my side, I don't even want to say, "Yes, I need anything." It's the classic. No one wants to,
don't accept help, right?
Yeah. But then oh, bro, I was like, this man's from Africa. I'm craving biltong, bro. I'm craving biltong right now, bro. I'm just in bed and something so, and that would go down a tree. And you were like, "Say less." And this guy literally just drops probably like a kg of biltong at my door. And I'm like, what a guy, Oh man, after that I was like, why do people not have brokers? For real. Because that was I was like, man, the feeling of whether someone would go outside their day, there was no instant benefit for you to give, and you did. that's a big trait of yours, that you naturally are generous and caring of others. So I commend you on that. You do that on a daily basis. But also what sets you apart in the insurance space, I believe, because it's qualities like that that makes, you can get a policy online, you know,
quickly as well.
quick, like,
Easily.
and you're like, yeah, but for me, I'm in the sitting with down my wife, and I was like, hey, if anything happens to me, so this is the person to call, like, and it's like, that's just way better than, but like, so this is the 0800 number to this call center and this 0800, and you're like, man, we're like, I should know, like, this is he's got our back, which is just, it's reassuring. That's for sure. Okay, bro, so moving forward into your journey now, 3 years, insane growth, right? Insane growth always brings growing pains. You have a business partner.
Yes.
Okay. Now,
Yes.
Ethan, you're the man. I do love you too, bro. Okay. And we're not outing you here. But what I would love to know, I get to work with, well, it's an honor. I get to work with business partners that are not seeing eye to eye. Right. And it's more common than I thought.
It happens with Ethan and I, dude.
Right. Yeah. So has there ever been a moment in your 3 years with you and Ethan where it's like, butting heads, or like you said something, I got triggered hard, F you, see you later?
Never had a blow up between the two of us like that, where we're yelling at each other and stuff. But there's a lot of friction there, dude. And
Yes.
we butt heads. We're both strong personalities. Ethan's probably the most driven, hardworking person I know, and I'm also driven and hardworking and have my own opinions.
Yep.
And they differ. I'm 30, Ethan's 25, different stages of life. So
Yes.
naturally, we're going to butt heads, and we do. But to our benefit is we've got one goal at the end for Gerard's.
Yeah.
So we want Gerard's to be eventually the largest SME insurance broker in New Zealand. And then on top of that, the vision for, when Ethan and I are probably in our 70s, 80s or gone, for Gerard's to be the largest insurance broker in the world.
Epic.
So huge long-term play on that. But having that goal at the end, sort of the squabbles we have through here, the next day we come to the office, we're both really good in that. Yesterday's squabble doesn't come into today. So, we might butt heads, argue about something, but typically we're pretty good at, we'll agree on a decision regardless, So we might argue about it. We might both be a bit grumpy, that night, and it might be a one-word goodbye when one of us leaves the office. But the next day it's, morning, how's your night? And just back into the next day. So it's definitely a healthy thing, I think, that friction with a business partner.
Yeah, for sure.
Because sometimes you get stuck with things like shiny object syndrome, right? You're like, oh, that seems like a good idea. Let's do that. That seems like a good idea. Let's do that. That person's making money doing that. Let's add that to the business. So sometimes the friction of a business partner who goes, hang on, that's a stupid idea. Take a deep breath. And that pisses you off. And you're like, hang on. But that actually makes you reflect on it, and it works out quite well at times.
Yeah, for sure.
But,
does it make you second guess before you say a new idea?
For a bit, it did.
Yeah.
There was a phase where maybe in our first 18 months where I was a little bit nervous sometimes to broach an idea with Ethan, because he's quite quick to shoot things down. To his benefit, if he does shoot something down, but then it turns out to be a good idea, he does think on it and he does reflect. And the next day or the day after, he comes back. He's like, hey, actually, let's explore that idea again. So after that happened a few times, it got to a point where I'll run every idea past Ethan, because he might shoot it down, but if it's a good idea, he'll come back.
He actually, he doesn't just shoot it down out of pride. It's like,
and it's actually quite a good litmus test having a business partner, because sometimes you might be you're just stuck in the sauce, you're working, an idea pops in, and it's not actually a great idea, but you're maybe sick of just the current constant grind you've got going on. So the idea of a little bit of change, a little bit of something different, a bit enticing, a little bit sexy. And then having a business partner who's like, no, we shouldn't be doing that. Let's stick to our knitting. It's actually a good thing.
I can see Ethan doing that too.
Yeah, man. And he's good at it as well. He's real blunt. He doesn't beat around the bush. It works real well. He's like, I think this is a stupid idea, and this is why. And then, first 18 months, my feelings got a little bit hurt. And now it's actually that actually probably sounds about right. Let me reflect on that.
I'm used to it now.
Yeah. And then we might talk about it the next day, make a decision, done.
I've got a lot of dumb ideas that I've had through my fun business journey.
What's
the dumbest idea you've had, bro?
Dude.
Come on, bro. Show.
No, there'll definitely be something I can think of.
You're like, man, if we press go on that,
what's the dumbest idea? Dude, probably our dumbest idea is our recent decisions. So we've just been stuck in the sauce, man, just working. We're the lowest paid employees in the business, so we can actually afford to pay our staff a really well wage, look after them, that kind of thing. And so recently we hired 3 new staff, and 2 of them will probably end up getting a company vehicle. So we're looking at vehicles and that thing. And Ethan sends me a vehicle, which is our trademark, is a Toyota Aqua or a Nissan Leaf, right? It's white. We get it signed with the orange. It sticks out like a sore thumb. And so Ethan sends me a few Trade Me listings of some Aquas. And at the very bottom, there's just a link to a Toyota Celsior, which is an old like 2001 V8. And it's just the Japanese version of the Lexus LS430, which is like a luxury sedan.
Yeah.
And so this thing, when I'm saying luxury, like, dude, in the back, there's automated blinds that go up and down. It's made for you to be driven by a driver. There's like massages in the back seat, dude.
In 2001?
In 2001, there's a fridge in the back
What?
seat. It was like designed for businessmen to, sit in the back and be chauffeured. Awesome car. It's a V8, super luxurious and not super expensive. And so at the bottom of the email, after all these links of Aquas, was this Toyota Celsior V8. And so Ethan sent that through and he just sort of chucked that in as a cheeky thing at the bottom. And I sort of looked at it and it was maybe like 7 p.m. I was in the office looking at this and I was like, this is a good idea. Let's buy this. And so I emailed Ethan back. I was like, nah, dude, don't get the Aqua. Just give one of the employees your Aqua and like, we got to get the Celsior. And he sort of ummed and ahed on it and went back and forth with the guy. And I was just hooked on it. I was like, nah, dude, got to get the Celsior. And he's like, okay, I'll get the Celsior. And literally the next day, he's like, I got the Celsior. And so some mates fortunately went up and picked it up for us from Nelson and driven it down. But that thing is the thirstiest car, dude. It's this old V8. It weighs like 2.5 tons.
2001, bro. It's definitely going to be.
Dude. So just our fuel bill like tripled, right? So you've got either a whole bunch of hybrid Aquas or you've got Nissan Leafs. That was a dumb decision.
Yeah.
And then to add on top of it, I've always wanted a GR Yaris. And when I first pitched that to Ethan, he was like, dude, no. He was like, we're not getting a GR Yaris. That's late. He was like, that's a stupid idea. And then, to Ethan's credit, I told you if I have an idea and he says it's dumb and then decides it's cool, he comes back.
Yes.
He went months and months later.
Oh, not the next day.
No. Months and months later. I mean, my hopes and dreams are gone a bit at this point, right? Months and months later, he comes back and he just opens up his phone and he's like, you need to watch this video. And it's Christian von Koenigsegg, the founder of Koenigsegg.
Yeah.
It's a video of him talking about what he dailies. He dailies a GR Yaris.
Here it is.
And it's him singing its praises. And so Ethan was like, got to eat humble pie here. Maybe it is a cool car. We should look at it. And then just by chance, dude, and honestly, the theme of my life has been things have been quite lucky for me. Most things work out. We just got an allocation for a GR Yaris.
Oh.
We put in the expression of interest. A couple of weeks later, heard nothing. And then the guy rang us and he was like, hey, you actually weren't in the queue, but everybody above you in the queue has faulted on paying their deposit. It's 2 p.m. It's Friday. If you can pay it by 4 p.m., the GR's yours. We paid the deposit. It was like $2,000.
Oh.
And so we got the Yaris. And then again, our fuel was doubled again because
I know,
that thing's thirsty.
But
that was our
it's
silly
you're
business
comparing
purchase.
it to a hybrid Aqua, bro. So everything's thirsty compared to that.
The Aqua, you get like 600 Ks if you drive badly. You drive well, you get 600 Ks to a tank. Costs like $70 to fill up.
Yeah, no. It's
unreal.
That's streams.
But anyway, now we've got a V8 Celsior and a GR Yaris. That's
Wait, you still have the Celsior?
Yeah, we still got the Celsior. So Ethan and I just swap between them, eh? So,
that's gold.
Yeah.
That's gold. Oh, man. Okay, that is good. That's good. Okay, well, we all have crap ideas, bro. Mine was to come up with the online program before I ever coached an individual. I was like, I'm going to do this.
Online.
Everyone was like, yo, online coaches, that's where you're making money. And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess that's, and it was in my head, it's safe because I can hide behind a camera and a well prepped, And I did that, bro. And I was like, oh, man, did this launch party. It was,
How'd it go?
It bombed, bro.
Yeah, I was going to say, I haven't heard about it. So.
No, it bombed. And I was like, oh, man, I thought that was going to be the big break. Turns out you got to actually sit down with people and find out what they actually need, not what you think they need. Anyway, we all have better ones.
Got to start somewhere, dude.
Yeah, 100%, bro. 100%. The, for you, bro, obviously, so on your journey, this pod's obviously called Triggered. What has been for you, and this is like journey through life, not just like business, but like big trigger moment where you're like, I had to live really just like, I could have gone full one way, full avoid, probably still be victim to something, or knuckle down, look at it, change some perspectives.
Yeah, awesome.
What has been a moment in your life that's
awesome
like,
question. Probably the first one like that would have been first year uni. Because I went from, being in the boarding house, your hand is held, man. You're washing, everything's got your name tag on it, you throw it in a pile, and you get it back the next day folded in a cubby hole with your name, dude. All your meals are cooked for you, right? Because it's a boarding house. Breakfast is made for you, lunch made for you, dinner's made for you. Your hand is held so tightly at boarding school. You're like a cotton wool kid, silver spoon. And then going from that to uni, where nobody checks in on you. And so I went from, if I didn't turn up to lectures, there's nobody being like, where were you? You need to come to lectures. If I had failed an assignment or didn't hand it in, nobody queries it. Your lecturer doesn't ring you up or email you or meet with you and say, hey, you didn't submit that assignment. And so that year was pretty tough in that, I didn't do sport for the year, which had
Yep.
been such a huge part of my life. One of the stable
True.
things I'd had, part of the routine that wasn't in there. So that was gone. And that whole year, I was pretty misguided,
Mm.
didn't do well, grades weren't great, that kind of thing. And then just over that summer break, just hearing friends talk about their
Yep.
experiences and just finding some common ground. The ones who even were doing well were struggling with certain things at uni, whether it's a social aspect or whatever was going on, finding job, cost of living when you're a student,
Yep.
you're dirt broke, that kind of thing. And just finding some shared common ground was probably that trigger point for me over that summer period where I was like, actually, I should probably actually take some accountability,
Yeah.
get stuck in, put some effort in. And so at that point, my major was I had a psych major and an HR major for first year. And then I was like, nah, that's not for me. And so then second year, I was like, cool, let's change it up. Let's try something different. Let's
Mm.
do something else. So I picked up law as a major, picked up econ as a minor, did a couple of papers, went, cool, law's not for me, dropped that, made econ a major, put everything into that. That started to go
Yeah.
well. I was like, oh, marketing's kind of interesting. Picked that up. Cool. That's a boost to the GPA as well.
Yeah.
That's epic. And so that was a big turning point for me. And it wasn't even anybody sitting me down being like, hey, you need to
Yeah.
sort your shit, because uni doesn't do that. They just
No, it
said,
doesn't.
like, yeah, here's your transcript. You're doing
Yeah.
terribly. If you don't improve next semester, there won't be a place for you here. But there's nobody meeting with you, catching up with you, providing any guidance.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
just hearing friends' stories who, even were doing well, were still struggling. So I was
Mm.
like, well, why don't I, instead of just struggling and having a shit time, put some effort in, take some accountability, and make a
Yeah.
difference?
True. Because most people in that space, I'm like, I've met a lot of people that's like, well, if they have a real bad first year, that, oh, well, uni's not for me. So it
Yeah.
is like, I'm just gonna roll out then. Do you feel like having friends at uni that were succeeding is one of the big reasons that it kept you?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably at the time I didn't realize it, but some of those friends were role models.
Oh yeah.
They
Okay.
were doing well. They were killing it at uni, but they still had time to, spend time with me, hang out, do their thing. So
Mm.
looking at them, I was like, well, if they can do it, and I
Yeah.
know these people, I know what they're like, why can't I
Yeah.
do it as well? So that was probably, looking back, there was probably friends who were role models during that time.
100%. Okay, bro. That's good. So, and I'm looking at like a time like that where, yeah, there's keys in that. So people for you have often been the thing that kept you going.
Yeah, so I probably discovered that at boarding school. That
Yeah.
first year, year 11, 15 years old in the boarding house,
Mm.
and you're sort of thrown in the deep end, like you're surrounded by these people, so it's a
Yep.
bit of sink or swim. And that was sort of when I realized, hey, actually, when I spend a day with lots of people and I go to bed, I'm not drained, I'm quite energized.
Yeah.
And so I found that, like, people give me a bit of buzz and I really enjoyed that. But that was probably just a rebound effect from,
Mm.
not really having many people around when I was younger to, cool, you've
Yep.
got like unfettered access to so many friends. You don't want to go throw the frisbee? There's 50 other people who might want to, kind of
Yes.
thing. So
Yes.
that was quite cool.
Oh man, that's epic. Okay. Another question, bro. Side note. Now I know that you're a bit of a health guy. Right? I hear through the grapevines, bro. You are a bit of a health guy. Um, as a business owner, and if you think of what you're running, how fast you're growing, and normally, uh, fast growth is commendable, but you have a big vision, which means longevity has to come in there. Do you feel like, one, give us a rundown on in terms of like what you do to look after yourself, because you know that I'm actually on for longevity here, not how fast we can get somewhere. Um, and does that and then what you do on a daily basis, how do you reckon that actually helps you to sustain growth?
Yeah, great question. Great question. Definitely a fan of trying to stay healthy.
Yes,
So probably just comes from being ingrained when I did do athletics. I
athletics.
was training at the high performance center and was around people who were just at the peak. So it sort of rubbed off on me. But to answer your question, I find when I exercise, I'm probably more productive.
Yep.
So sometimes when you get lost in the sauce and you're really stressed, if you just go for a 20-minute walk, 30-minute run, go to an hour gym session, you come
Mm,
back, and after that break, you probably get more work done than you would have
yep.
beforehand. But in terms of, routine for me is usually Monday to Friday is the gym. I might, depending on if I'm tired, miss one or two of those days and just do them in the weekend kind of thing. I'm a morning guy, most productive in the morning. So I
Yes.
usually get to work at 5, work from 5 to 6:15, leave for the gym, usually back at my desk by about quarter to 8, work till
Yep.
6, 7 in the evening. That's kind of my routine. But the big thing for me, looking at health, trying to be like, cool, I've obviously got to do this for a long time. And I don't want to put on a lot of weight because for me personally, that would just make me unhappy, right? And
Mm,
I work best when I'm happy. So it's like, cool, what can I do to maintain a shape I'm happy with, but also get enough work done? Because
Yes.
there's no substitute for hard work at the end of the day.
Yeah, hard.
But coming from doing sport where I could eat, 3.5, 4,000 calories a day every day, not put on any weight,
Mm.
to, okay, now I'm sitting at a desk for like 10 to 12 hours a day. Yes, I'm working out in the morning, but just being so sedentary,
Yes.
killing me, dude. So I
Yeah.
started to put on a bit of weight, and I was like, damn, I got to like start tracking my steps or something.
Yes.
Get a step counter. And so normal routine, work at 5, gym at 6:15, back at my desk just before 8,
Yep.
and then sort of leave my desk around 6, 7 p.m. if I've got
Mm.
plans in the evening. And I'd look down at my step counter, so I've got a Whoop, and it would be like, you've done 1,800 steps today. And I was just like, what? And I was like, that can't be right. Next day, maybe 2,500. Next day, like
Yeah.
1,200. Next day, like 4,000. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Even
All
though
over
I'm
the place.
working out, I'm
Yeah.
just, I'm putting on weight, I'm up to nothing. And then you just sort of start to feel a bit worse about yourself. You feel a bit lethargic. And so I ended up getting rid of my Whoop for a period 8 months ago, just because it got to a point where I was way too dialed in on all the data and trying to be too
Yep.
into everything. And so I took like an 8-month period off, being a bit of a stats nerd and just way too
Yeah.
ingrained in it.
When you say you took 8 months off,
I just canceled my Whoop subscription. So,
gotcha.
because it tracks your sleep, it tracks
Yep.
your
Yep.
exercise, stress.
Almost making you paranoid.
Yeah, to the point where,
Yeah.
dude, I was so dialed in where there was weeks where my bedtime and wake up time would be the exact same to the minute. So it'd be like 8 p.m. I'd be asleep and I'd be awake at 4:59 a.m. to be at my desk at 5 because
Yeah.
I live above the office. And then it just was like ruining my life, man.
Yeah, I
It
can
was just
imagine.
like, people would invite you out and then at 7:30 my alarm's going off. So it's like, sweet, gotta go home and get to bed. Like, it was no good, dude. It
Yeah,
was just so
especially when you're a
unhealthy.
person that thrives with people, bro.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
like,
So now it's just trying to find a balance where it's like, cool, go to the gym in the mornings, go for the occasional run. Only zone 2 cardio though, because I'm so unfit. And then if you're running slow, you can be, I'm doing zone 2, so it's fine.
well, I'm at like zone negative 100.
Yeah,
but
yeah. So just like 2 to 3 slow runs a week, and then gym as much as possible, which is like 4 to 5 times a week, and that seems to be the balance. And then what I've also done, being a little bit cheeky, is with our staff, I do what's called a walkie-talkie with everybody once a week. So each staff member gets a one-on-one, and instead of us sitting down having a coffee and it being quite formal,
yeah,
it's more of we go for a wander around the block, maybe pop into the Supo down the road, buy a chalky milk or whatever. And it's just an opportunity for them to be out of the office, really relaxed environment, share some concerns, some feedback, ask questions that maybe you don't want to ask in front of the team, but also just check in, how are you doing? How's mental health? What's going on in your life at the moment? And that has been a hack to get my steps up. So I've got this little loop developed that's about 15, 20 minutes and it gets me about 2,200 steps.
yes.
So if I do, all my walkie-talkies in a day, I'm done for my steps for that day. I've nailed it. So it's just trying to find that balance between spending enough time at my desk with staff, but also trying to chase some health goals. So
yes,
easier said than done.
It is, bro, because like you said, it can become, it can deter you from your main goal as well. But at the same time, if you let it go, then your main goal screws you over.
And you sort of come to sometimes at certain periods, you might resent one or the other. So at times I'll like resent the fact that I so much want to be in the gym, but some days I'm just too busy.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, I should go prioritize work. I'll go for a walk on my lunch break. That'll be my exercise. And then you're almost like resentful that the gym is that important and you haven't been able to go to it. But sometimes you got to take a deep breath. Like, it is what it is. And sometimes it is what it is. And that's fine. But it's just being able
if you're not trying to be an athlete.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it is what it is. But the it's more like when that one substitutes for you, like you're the owner of your business, so no one's going to work harder than you, and that's just life. That's just what it comes with, right? So you're like, when you have a business partner involved as well, you're like, well, I don't want to be a lazy one, and he's the one that's at the same time
creates accountability.
Yeah, for sure. It was real funny. I was having a conversation with someone today around like longevity, performance, and I've had the opportunity to work with people that love high performance but have burnt out pretty badly, and then I've had the opportunity to work with people that, like, my mentor is Martin. I don't know. Do you know Martin Swan? No, doc is an All Blacks medical doctor, but he's top tier in terms of like longevity, performance, marriage is healthy, kids love him.
Yeah, cool.
Like, he was a chief medical officer at NZDF.
Sure.
And then he what made me respect him the most was he turned down the All Blacks job I say 5 or 6 years ago. So it got offered to him back then. He was still a Crusaders then. He turned it down because he still had 2 girls at school.
What a legend.
I know, bro. I was like, you are the
What a
man.
legend.
And then once they finished school, went to uni. And then Razor was like, mate, you're coming with me. And he was like, well, time's right. I do it now. But I've had the opportunity to work with people like that. You're like, oh man, like you've sustained performance and continue to increase in your way of performance for a long time. And then you have these people that have the want to, but didn't play it right. And I was having a chat to a person, and he is our class is like the health freak, right? So breath work is on, meditation is on, routines are on, juice cleanses are on. Like it's like everything. He's just doing everything, right? But he's doing everything to keep himself operating at 100. But he never comes down to look at what's happening internally for himself. And when I examine the big differences between like the ones that don't last and the ones that do, is they know how to perform in moments and come back down and regulate. Look at themselves. Oh snap! Why am I doubting myself here? That's a bit different. What's going on there? We'll have a chat with someone. And when you look at it, if you go up to 100, you come back down. And this is where the relationships are at, and not so much. But the other side is for the people that have burnt out or on the track of, is that we can get so addicted to the performance because you have met with validation and praise. And so you're like, oh, this must be who I am because people like that. And if you like to be liked, then you do what you can to stay up here.
It's addictive, man.
Right. Yeah, and then you just never come down. And then you're like, oh, I need to do gratitude. Oh, I need to do two gym sessions a day. Oh, I need to do, and you're like, I got to do everything just to keep up here. When you're like, what I've discovered is as you come down, work on yourself. When you go back up, you go higher because you can handle so much more pressure versus.
I've got a cool analogy for that. So
yeah, man.
I went to a masterclass earlier in the year up in Auckland, put on by Best Places to Work. And one of the ladies I met there, unfortunately, I can't remember her name, but she used to be the chief people officer of Wikipedia. Was her role.
Epic.
And had lunch with her. Super interesting lady. Picked her brains about so many things.
Yeah.
And she was so forthcoming with information. And her one bit of advice, because everyone in the room sort of called me the startup guy, right? Because Gerard was like 2 years in. Yes. Everybody in that room has been in business like 20, 30 years. Yes. And it was me, the startup guy, asking all these questions. And so the ex-chief people officer of Wikipedia said, you've got to take time to stand on the balcony. So a lot of business owners are on the dance floor. They're in there, they're getting it done, they're working hard, they're, dancing with everybody, suppliers, employees, whoever it is, right? You're on the dance floor, but she was like, you've got to take time to get off the dance floor, stand on the balcony, look at the dance floor, but look at everything around you. Yeah. Why are you on the dance floor, And that's where it comes to stuff like with your guy and his daughters being at school, you know? He's on the dance floor, he's working hard because he wants to provide for the family. If I take this role, yes, I can provide more, but less time with the family. So
I won't have a family.
Yeah, exactly, right? So
classic.
that was
often people trade.
Yeah.
Which is the sad part because that's when they come here and we're like, oh,
yeah,
could it be prevented?
That was really good advice from her, and I've sort of done that pretty much weekly since. Have a big week, take some time and just reflecting. Sitting at my desk on a Friday evening, going, "Cool, what happened this week? Why am I doing this? What's important outside of work?"
Yeah.
Because I'm so guilty of burning out. So work out for a couple of months. You get in sort of a habit where it's easy to work like 70 hours a week, 80 hours a week, some weeks. And then I
I remember in your first year, bro, you were like, oh, no, I'm working on Christmas Day, bro. We're just 10 p.m. at night. Yeah, mate, I got you.
Yeah,
you're all in.
It's addictive, but you get used to it and then it becomes easy, but it affects everything else outside of it.
Yes,
and then
it's
like if stuff's not going well outside of work, you just got to work because then you focus on work. And it can be pretty unhealthy.
Yeah, 100% it can.
So,
bro, well, I don't want to go too long overtime. I want only time. So, last question for tonight, bro. By the way, we're recording this at night in case someone's like, oh, at night, yes. For a person that I'm looking at people that can relate to your story, right? So, single mom, household, all the S Vegas people out there. But, leave. Leave. Oh, bro. But yeah, single mom, like you're not enjoying your childhood. You thrive with people. So the loneliness can be scary. then because you thrive with people, you said it like caring what people think a lot, and it can impact. A lot of people have a lot of big goals, big dreams, but are often held back by a lot of things, which I feel like in your journey you've had to overcome. What's the type of advice that you would give yourself if you look back to let's say 2020? No, when you hit uni, 20
I was 2014 was my
okay,
first year at uni.
2014 Marcus, right? Discipline's gone. It's on me to make things work. Uh, I've given up what I if you think of sport was life, right? Like I've
Yeah. Identity was gone.
yeah. So like, what advice do you give yourself?
What advice would I give to 18-year-old Marcus who's just started uni?
Yeah.
It's a good question. I suppose from the lens of what's relative to me at that time,
Mm.
it would probably just be the context of you can still do things even if you don't feel great or you don't feel like doing them,
Yep.
right? So a lot of stuff, it's like, am I motivated? I don't feel motivated. But you can still go see those friends if you don't feel like it. You can still go do things that you don't feel like doing. And
Yeah.
usually there'll be a positive benefit to it.
Yes.
But at uni, nobody made me do anything, so I didn't do anything. I didn't do
Ah.
sport. I didn't go to lectures, didn't do too much socializing because I didn't feel like it. But I still could have gone and done it. And it's just the hindsight, I guess, of it wouldn't have been that hard once you actually just do the thing, So probably the advice would be just do the thing.
Do the thing.
You don't feel like doing it, you can still do the thing. If you're
Hey.
tired, you can still do the thing, So
Right.
doing more things would probably be my advice because that's what made a big difference to me.
Today, adults can take that advice, bro. I feel like we get too paralyzed in the decision to do something. Who's that? Alex Hormozy. Alex Hormozy
I love
goes,
that
yeah,
guy.
he's a gun. He goes, in today's world with technology, it takes what, like 22 hours to become proficient at something, but most people take 20 years to do 22 hours, which is scary,
Yeah.
But take action.
So probably to follow on from that little bit of advice to myself would probably be around decision making.
Yep.
I wasn't great at making decisions, so making decisions would have made a huge difference in my life. And so I saw this thing the other day, and it was a tweet, and it said decision making should come down to 3 parts. What's the decision you need to make? Do you have the information you need to make it? If not, what information do you need to make the decision? And then make the decision. That probably would have changed my life because I'd stew over things. I'd take ages to make a decision, and then quite often, if you take too long, the opportunity's gone. Even if it's just doing social
you
stuff.
opened up something before we finish, Mike. Before we finish, what made decisions hard back then?
Not backing myself.
Not backing yourself. So it's almost like you needed someone else to be like, yeah, that's great, bro.
Like
Go for it.
external validation to be like, yeah, that's a good idea. Nobody pushed anything. Nobody said do this thing. And so there's no validation to it. So
I can relate. I remember I'm going through a thought detox at the moment on myself, and it's revealing some big things around like I go 2 ways. I either back or I've now I'm finding a different way. But my pattern was if someone said I can do it, I do it. So I would always do the opinions of of probably an authority figure. The authority figure says, "Oh, that's good for you, Rico." Then I'll be like, "Oh, that must be good for me." And so I'll be the outcome of someone else. And because if it fails, it's on them. That was my safety.
Oh, that was their idea,
right? It was their idea, right? But then if I go out on my own, it has to work. So if I do something that someone else didn't say you should do, it's like, oh crap, it has to work. And then I've discovered that if someone threatens that, I'm pissed off. I'm like,
triggered.
Let's go then. Yeah, bro. I got triggered hard. And so I was like, oh man, wow. I'm either like laid back, I don't do anything because someone else is gonna do it for me, or I have to attack you to defend because this is my backing now, which has been real random to discover. I'm like, oh man, how do I not want to fight someone if someone if someone goes at what it's been interesting. Anyway, I might when I finish with audio docs, I might jump on that on the pod. We'll see what happens. But bro, thank you so much for jumping on and sharing your story, and hopefully people discover more of you than they probably knew. Oh man, we got to get you back again once I've got this whole routine working.
Dude, so keen to come back.
But I wanted to get you on because one, you've always been an advocate of what we do, and you live it. You don't just talk.
Proof's in the pudding, baby.
Come on, bro. So let's go. But hey, thanks so much. And we'll see you next time. Let's go.